I started doing workshops and doing groups where I'm getting up in front of others, like outside of the gym setting, and talking about resilience and perseverance and goal setting and vision and taking action.
You should know what 1 hour of your time is worth. You should know the value that you bring to the marketplace. You know what your passion is.
Starts with clarity of vision. If you don't have the clarity of vision, whatever next thing you get, you're not going to see it through because you don't have the clarity of vision. So the point of my pain was being told you will never run or jump again. And all that stuff, I was like, you know what? Like, I want to be able to take this even bigger.
If you know why you do what you do, you have to know how to charge for what you do. That's how you're going to change your life, and that's how you're going to leave a legacy for your children and your family. You got to know your worth.
Happy Monday, ladies and gentlemen. This is Rob, and I am back with episode number 385 of Shut Up and Grind. We're all about overcoming obstacles, defying the odds, and inspiring you to clear whatever is blocking the path to the success that you want. So I bring guests on from all over the world. I've had guests from 6 of the 7 continents, and one day we're going to get a connection in Antarctica, and we're going to find somebody there too. Right. So again, if you're brand new to the show, this is about you. It's not about hearing myself talk. It's not about hearing my guests talk. It's about inspiring you to take action on what's that thing that you want, right? And before I introduce and bring my guest on, today's little tip of the day: authenticity. Damn it, be yourself. Okay, stop trying to be something that you're not, or something that your spouse wants you to be, or something that your boss wants you to be. Be you. I am sitting in a gym. That's why I show up in a tank top. My profession allows me to wear a tank top. So when I speak on other platforms and people say, please dress professionally, I always say, whose profession are we using? Right? Whose profession are we going to go by? I'm going to show up as me 100% of the time. And I've lost opportunities because of that, but I'm not going to compromise who I am at my core to fit somebody else's standard of professionalism. So that's today's tip, is to just be you. All right. So on today's episode, we're going to be talking about war stories, truth, and the fight to heal. Helping me have this conversation is Pete A. Turner, and Pete opens up about service after service, including his charity work with Save the Brave, his personal battle with PTSD, and the heartbreaking loss of his brother. Through initiatives like Ride the Brave, Pete continues to turn pain into impact. So let me welcome Pete to the stage. How we doing, sir?
Man, I'm awesome. Thanks for having me. You know, I always start these things by saying thank you, because I know what it means to put these shows together. You and I had to work something on time, but this is what we do, right? I mean, hundreds of these, like, we understand, like, these are things that matter. These are things that don't. And you were, as long as we get this workout in, right? As long as we get in this conversation, we're going to win. And to everybody else out there, you could do a lot of things, but you're choosing to sit here and talk with us. I'm going to do my damnedest to give you something that you can't get anywhere else. I love doing this. I love you guys all for tuning in and listening to Rob. I just can't wait, man. I'm super excited to do this. It might seem corny, but I get stoked for this, man. I love what we get to do in this world and how it enriches our lives and the lives of the people around us. And then tertiary, these other people that watch, and maybe one little thing will click one time for them. You could hear it a million times in your life, but that one day, that one person says it the right way, and you go off in a completely new and wonderful direction. It's just, these things are wisdom machines and just gold nugget producing shows. So thank you all for watching and listening. I'm ready to go.
See, so one thing you said there, this is what we get to do. It's what a lot of people don't realize. Like, if you're stuck in a career that's not serving you, it's not fulfilling you, you don't have to stay there. That's what people don't understand, you know. And I've been there myself. I'm sure you have. Like, I was in a job probably 15 years longer than I should have been. And once I stepped into this world, I was like, this is absolutely amazing. Like, I don't have to wake up in dread going to the restaurant. I get to just like you said, I get excited for this stuff. It's like, I usually pace in the gym as I wait for the guest to come on. I'm playing, you know, inspirational music or listening to a motivational podcast and getting my own mind right to be able to come here and do this. And to your point, it's about showing up for the people who tune in to hear us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you mentioned backstage that you're from the West Coast. So whereabouts are you joining me from?
Orange County, California. It's 65 degrees right now. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, we don't want to hear your warm weather stuff. Okay, I'm over here in Rhode Island where we're happy. We're happy that it's 31 degrees today. That's insane.
Yeah.
All right,
It's
California. All right, so let's dive in. Okay, what makes Pete Pete? How would you describe yourself at your core?
You know, at my core, I'm a lighthearted kind of person. I'm creative. What I am really is a connector. I'm good at entering into other people's worlds, and your world can be completely different, but it's comfortable to you. I can withstand. I call it miscomfort, not discomfort. It's miscomfort. I can enter that world and withstand the miscomfort until that jacket actually, like, you know what? Actually, this jacket does suit me. You know, it's like if you and I were to swap spots when how we work out, right? Like I do jujitsu, right? And so if I put you in my world, man, you would be uncomfortable, but you would know as long as I can withstand this process of learning this world, you know, getting on this mat and rolling or whatever it is. And I'm just using an example. You can become comfortable in someone else's world pretty quickly if you allow it to be something that you can adapt to. And that makes you that what's that done? That's taught me to be tolerant and patient. You know, people are gonna be where they're at. And if I can get to where folks are at, then I can be folks with folks. And I love that. That's who I am, man. I'm someone who gets people because I allow them to be where they're at. Even if I disagree with them, that's all right. That's okay. And maybe we'll swap spots and I'll believe the thing that they believe that they rejected. And now they think I'm crazy for believing it. That's okay too. So that's why I'm someone who connects people, looks for opportunities. I'm trying to stuff money in people's pockets whenever I can, even if that money is just introducing them to a great new friend.
So how did you get to that point? Like, were you always this positive and uplifting, or is this something that you became over time?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of both. You know, when I was a kid, I played a lot of sports. I played a lot of pickup sports. That puts you in a lot of different towns. Because if my friend from 3 towns over, and I had friends from 3 towns over because I got around, you know, and so I just was a bit of a gadfly, I suppose, you know, but on a basketball court or on a baseball field or on a football, you know, pitch or, you know, whatever. And so I just played and I got to know people. And again, I've got some charm, you know, inherently, but also I've developed that skill. So it's a combination of the things that I've winnowed away a lot of the things that didn't need to be about me. Right. But I filled my plate for the things that are about me. And so some of that is just a process of like, don't need that, not even going to think about it and not get mad about it. It's completely in that part of my life. And so I have done a good job of doing that over time. But the roots, the meat and potatoes, those are all still Pete. It's just I understand my recipe for how I live my life.
See, and that's huge. I understand my recipe. See, going back to what I said in my intro, that people get stuck trying to live somebody else's life or to somebody else's standard, or I should be doing this at this stage, or I'm too old to be doing that. It's like I'm 51 now and I'm getting ready to launch a speaking business at 51. By society standards, I should already have enough money to retire, and I should already have this, I should already have that. And little do people know I'm living at home with my mom, quietly building an empire. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's not about me living at home with my mom. It's about what am I doing while I'm there? You know what I mean? It's like I'm paying half the bills and I'm creating a life that cannot be taken from me, rather than just trying to go out there and punch somebody else's time clock. Because even with my own business, COVID proved that it can still be taken away from you. You know? So so now I'm like, I'm going to put myself in a position to where if we have something like that ever happens again, I'm going to be one of those few that didn't really get burned from it. So how do you, when it comes to self-prioritization, what are your thoughts on it? Because people, and sorry moms, but you guys are the most guilty of this, about people are so quick to put themselves on the back burner, right?
Man,
So what are your thoughts on self-prioritization?
Look, I was just talking to my buddy Gary, and he is mom for his kids, right? And so he's got to be super dad. And he's like, all I got time for is these kids, and then get horizontal, watch some TV, and reload for the next day. But it's all about his kids. And he gets that time, that window when the kids are small and impressionable in the ways that you need to be. It's short. It's short. It's hard. I just today I was at the doctor and made an appointment for 2027. That's how close next year is, right? Like already
True.
stuff is getting booked. And so we have to understand that, you know, you have to do enough things so you can know what to say no to, but more importantly, what to say yes to and how to create opportunities in your opportunities. So you're talking about living with your mom. I think that's great. First off, older entrepreneurs have a higher batting average of success. We're just better at stuff, you know, in ways that youthful folks are not, right? And so we have better connections. We are less worried about the things that don't matter. We know where the work is more reliably, you know? And like, since we're talking about like, you know, things from a working out point of view, I know that if I go to jiu-jitsu 5, 6, 7 times a week, I'm going to get faster than if I went 3 days a week, you know? And I say 5, 6, 7 times. That means I'm working out today. I already worked out once. I'm going to go back at noon. I'm going to work out again. And those techniques I'm learning, I'm going to be better at it because I know where the work is. Right now, the work for me is reps. Maybe later on I'll build some elegance, but I can't even string together. Like if you walked in and you kind of knew some workouts, but you really hadn't mastered your arm workout, you know, like I'd have to string that together in time. And so that requires for me repetition. I've got to get in there and go do that. We all have to figure out where the work is. And sometimes you just have to do it. Sometimes you got to look, there's like dad tasks like, hey, someone's got to fix this doorbell. That means I got to climb up into the attic. I'm the last guy that should be climbing into the attic, but no one in the house wants to do it. None of them can withstand the pain of doing it. So up goes dad. And he's up there and he's like, I'll be goddamn if I'm not going to fix this ring. You know, and you're doing this crazy stuff. That's what we do to find our opportunities. So you living with your mom is a means to an end. By the way, I'm 56. You know, our moms are older now. And so we got to be aware of where they're at and what they need. And here's the thing I've learned a lot about old people. And in this case, we're not old people yet. You know, they're the ancients. So the ancients, when we go to care for these guys, they have independence until the second they start to lose it. And they're desperate to hold on to that independence. But some of them need an eye. Like, so you can just say, my mom has always been fine, right? And I'm not saying this in case but you're there all the time. But if you're not there with your mom, if she lives 7 states away and she's like, oh, we're doing fine. Meanwhile, every day she's terrified. Or she's already fallen once and didn't tell you. Or she's starting to put her hand on the stove to balance herself and forgetting that the stove is hot. Like all these things start to happen. And guys in our age and ladies, we have to take care of that mom in a way that it's gentle, it's wonderful, but there's also a lot of guilt in it and kinds of guilt that you've never seen before. And so your proximity allows you to help care for your mom in a wonderful way, hopefully. And you guys can have this great relationship and you can save money. I mean, why wouldn't you want to do that? I was talking to this kid, and I'll shut up and let you go. But he was saying, like, I just can't get an opportunity. And I'm like, dude, you know, like if you want to kick down doors, go build a door and just open the damn thing. You know, how much money do you need to do with whatever it was? He's like, you know, like 15,000. I'm like, yeah, easy it is to make $15,000. It's just outworking your problem. 15,000 is nothing. I'm not trying to make light of the effort, but if you decide to work for 1,000 days in a row, no days off, and just do driving and delivering meals, you put $100,000 in your pocket. You know, now look, there's going to be some costs with all that, but you got to be rigid about it. But you build that muscle of, I know I can go out and in 6 hours bring back $150. And I promise there's enough people that have help, that need help for things, whether it's delivering food or giving a ride or going to the dump. You can build that business and you're like, now I've got $100,000 war chest. Now how are your chances going to be at starting that business? And just, you have to outwork your problems when you're younger.
At any time, really, because almost 3 years ago, I literally lost everything. That's how I ended up back with my mom. I'm there now because she needs the help. You know, it's like I can move out at any given time. It's like I'm not stuck there now. But it's mutually beneficial. It's have like an acre and a half of land. It snowed like holy hell here last weekend, and she can't do all that by herself, taking care of the yard by herself. But just to illustrate that, this guy Mike, I don't know what you mean by this, anger, fear. I'm not sure, but if you want to clarify, I'll gladly say it on air. But to illustrate that, when I was in that place when I first got there, I worked almost, I'd say 80 to 90 hours a week for 2 straight years. Because I was like, I will not let this happen to me ever again. And people were like, how are you doing that? And when I tell you I lost everything, I had no car. I rode my bike everywhere. everywhere I had to go. My first job back, it was as a busser. I said, I'm going to walk in there and I'm going to dance circles around everybody else so they know that they need to put me somewhere else, which they did in a little over a month. They're like, we got to get you, elsewhere. Like you're too valuable to be here, not diminish anyone that busts tables, but then my daughter started working, and I told her, I said, you need to go in there and outwork everybody else. I said, don't worry about who's not putting any effort. They're not your problem. So you work to your standard. Do not lower your standard to theirs. And same thing, within a matter of months, she was already a team leader. And I told her, I said, see, because you got to go in there and be undeniable. Man. Undeniable. When you reach that level, everything that you want is going to happen. Let me read this comment quick before you go. It says, fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate, which leads to suffering. I agree 100%. All right, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say that whole thing, like if you're competing with somebody else. So Rob and I are, at the same corporation, and they're like, oh, we're going to pick one of you guys and make you a regional manager. That's what you're going to get. And so we go into this competition. Now, look, I like Rob. Rob likes me. We're not really competing, but only one of us is going to get this job. So let's say in this case, Rob gets the job. Right then, I drop paper on that boss and be like, gotta go. Because that's how it works, everybody. You have to be able to promote yourself. If you can't do that externally, you can't do it internally. So when they pass you over, even if it's like, oh, it was so close, that's all wonderful. Do you have a role for me here? Otherwise, I gotta go. Because you aren't in their future, right? And they're like, no, we're going to get you in 2 years. Great. No, let's do that. I'm all about that. Meanwhile, your exit plan. I'm not saying you have to drop paper that day, right? Let's not be ridiculous. But you need to say, that's it. My time here at this company is over. I can't grow here anymore. They just nipped me off at the nub. That kind of, that's taking care of yourself. That is looking out for your own interests. Now, maybe you go talk to your boss, like, listen, what I'm supposed to do is quit right now because you guys picked Rob over me. And so that means that I'm not giving you guys what you need. So either what do you need? What else can I do? Whatever it is. But you can't fear that reprisal. You can't fear that outcome because you need to grow in an area. And whether you deserved it or didn't deserve that job, there was something missing from what you had there. And if it's that close, if you're both so wonderful, well, then what's the other gig you got for me? Because otherwise you got to go.
To illustrate that, I went to bat over $5. $5.
Yeah.
Right. I was a restaurant manager, and the other manager, we both got raises, but she got $5 more than me. And I went into my boss and I was like, oh, what is this about? And he's like, what? He's like, well, she's been with me for 5 years. I said, I don't care. Who's better? I'm like, on Mother's Day at 9 a.m., who do you want beside you more, me or her?
Yeah.
Right. And he's like, all right, I get your point. But again, to illustrate what you said, people have to advocate for themselves. Like if I didn't do that, I know out of the two of us, I'm better. It's like, I know I am. But just because she's been here longer, that doesn't change the fact that I produce more. Right? Yeah. Like that's my one knock on seniority. Like if you have seniority and you kick ass at your job, then yes, you should get whatever it is you want. But if you've been there for 3 years longer than me, but I am doubly outproducing you, right? That's gotta elevate me. And if people don't advocate like that, then they're gonna fall victim to that seniority trap.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, again, you're saying a lot of powerful things, understanding. So in this scenario, Rob got the job and I didn't. I can then go to my boss and say, hey, I know that worked out. You guys picked Rob. We all know Rob's great. That's not a problem. And it can't be 2 jobs. Here's what I propose. Put me in this role over here. It's lateral, not up, or it's up. Here's why I can do it. And you know your business. Like I went to my boss one time. I wasn't great at corporate America, but I went to my boss and he was complaining about me. And I'm like, Tony, I know how much money I bring in for this company. I paid your salary. I paid my salary. I paid 3 ladies down in accounts payable salary. And then you guys still made money. So let's not act like I'm not an asset. Maybe you want me to be better, but here's where I'm at. I understand these things. So you leaning on me, telling me I'm not pulling my weight, that's just not true. And he's like, you're right. You're right. He's like, we'd like you to do more things. We'd like you to fit into the box a little better. And I'm like, Hey, look, I'm producing. You want me to fit into the box? I don't know what's in it for me. And I asked Tony, where do you see me next year? On the phones. And I'm like, well, there you go. We're right back where we started. You see me on the phones. All right, I'm going to be on the phones. I'm going to produce. I'm going to pay your salary, my salary, those three ladies' salary, and you're still going to clear money. If that's not good enough, then let me know. And then he understood that, like, I didn't need that job. And I thought, like, I can replace this job. I don't make enough money as it is. And you're telling me I'm not working hard enough. So, all right, I believe you. And he's like, no, stop. But I advocated for myself. Now, I didn't stay in that job long, right? But that was mostly because the war happened. So if I had stayed, I was going to exit myself out of that place. Ended up that I had to leave either way. But we have to find the places. I'm not saying stand up to your boss and be a jerk. I'm not saying any of that. But I am saying understand what your worth is, understand where you're going, and make sure that you communicate that to your boss. Like, hey, I don't know where you think I'm going, but I think I'm going right over there. And if you help me build that path, you're going to have my best effort. Because every boss wants to know that you're checked in. And most of us are checked out. Like, that's the numbers, right? So how do you check yourself in so they know that they can opt into you? Well, be demanding, be hard, like Tupac things. Like, I'm not doing that, but here's what I am going to do. And here's what it's worth. If you can explain those things to your boss, then I think you'll do better.
Yeah, so those of you on the live stream, if you can do me a favor, and please hit that like button. And if you want to go a step further and hit that share button, that would be nice as well, too. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to add them, and I'll read them on the live stream. Right, so I want to just say something quickly. Then I want to talk about how you got into the service and your time there. And going back to self-advocacy, no one's going to do it for you, right? And you just mentioned about what is your worth, right? So I went to a conference back in 2012. There was 5,000 people in this conference in Chicago. And one of the speakers asked that to the crowd, like, what is your hourly rate? And you could hear a pin drop in there. Like nobody really knew, like nobody really answered, right? And then we fast forward to just back in September, I spoke at a career day at a local high school. And so I asked the students, I'm like, what's your hourly rate? And some of them were like, minimum wage, $20 an hour. And I was like, no, I'm gonna need you guys to think bigger, right? Yeah. Think bigger. Like I said, if somebody wants an hour of my time, one-on-one, I said, it's $2,000. And they're all like, whoa, like that was something so foreign. I was like, don't let society decide your value. And like when I switched over into fitness from the restaurant industry, I never realized how easy it is to make $100,000. I used to think back when I was making 40, 45, 50, like I'm going to have to work years to make good money. And it's really not. You just got to have vision, something that society needs, and know how to market yourself. And the possibilities are endless. Like this business I'm about to launch, first year projection is $1.1 million. You know what I mean? If you would have asked me 10 years ago, did I think that was possible? The answer would be a resounding no. An absolute no. So if you want to say anything else on that, go ahead. If not, then we'll switch into how you got into the military.
I think you're right. Knowing what you're worth is powerful. Knowing and explaining to someone in a way that they can understand it. And so it's just like whatever it is. Like in this case, I help people with their podcast, right? And this is not a pitch. This is just an explanation of what I do. And so I'll tell them, like, first off, you probably shouldn't have a podcast because everybody thinks they need one. And then you get in there and you find out it's work. It's marketing. It's sales. You got to do all this extra stuff. So if you don't have a big wedge of capacity on your plate or a budget to buy capacity, we should probably talk about what else you're going to do. I talk people out of podcasts all the time. That seems counterintuitive. But the people that see the dragon and they go, I can kill that dragon. Yes, I have a budget. Okay, you have a budget. All right. Here's what it's going to cost. Now, here's what it costs for me to work with a corporation. Here's what it costs for me to work with you. But it's got to be here. And now they understand, like, oh, okay, you would charge a corporate because the corporation has got a bigger budget. But I'll make sure that you get this. But understand, this is hard. And you're going to have to adapt. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's not going to go as great as you want it to go. And if you can take all that, then I'll work with you. But if you can't, it's all right to say now, I don't want to do that. And some people do. Some people get into the process and they're like, you know what? I don't want to do it. Pete, you are right. You're predicting the future. This is hard. It's hard to do. all of that is worth money. And I'll like all the things you're worried about the podcast, let those all go. I've got all that. That's why you hire me. All of that. What do I use? How do I do all that? Forget all that. What I want to know is, do you have the time? Do you have the money? Do you have the desire to do this? And I'll yank you along a little bit. Like if you get short on desire, be like, hey, check it up. You said we're going to do one a week. Let's bank 3 right now. And then as you get short and you fall behind, I'm going to remind you. That's where I'm going to be in front of you. All of that costs money. What's that cost? Well, it depends on who you are, you know, what I'm going to do. But I'm not charging less than $100 an hour, right? Like it's not going to happen. And because all of that expertise, I just said, you don't have to worry about any of the mechanics of the podcast. I know all the answers to that. I already know how to stay in front of you on getting you. I've done over 2,000 of my own show, right? So when we talk about production, obviously we're not talking about the nuts and bolts. Like obviously I know how to do that. But that next thing, how do I get Rob to go to the next level? Well, I mean, I don't know the actual answer to that. No one does, right? You just repetition, evolution, constant pressure on what the thing is, budget, all these things all go into that. And so I can explain that to any corporation. And I'm glad to walk out and say, you're not the kind of client I want. I don't want to start a podcast that you guys failed to get to 5 episodes. I don't want those. And I thought, I don't want that. I'll leave. If you're serious, I will get you past 10 episodes. But then we got to start to work on the other part of it, you know? And so like the CEO always wants to be the person that talks. And I'm like, you don't have the time to do this. Your time is much too valuable to be giving away to your podcast because it's a cost center, not a profit center. And so when they get that and they allow me to free up, man, I can help them build a great podcast. I can get within their vision and make it clearer and more precise. That's worth a lot. I mean, you know, Rob, that's worth a lot of money. Like we're not going to mess around for 6 months and then fail. Like you want to go 6 months and you want to go hard. I will help you get that vision that you were talking about right now. And we can stick that, but that's going to cost you $15,000. And here's what they do. They go, yeah, that's right. That seems right. Yeah. All that expertise is coming our way. We don't have anybody here that knows how to do this. Nobody there. I probably have done more podcasts than everybody in the entire company combined. Right. So I don't need to be in charge of anything, but I will make this podcast better, but it costs this. And they're like, yeah, of course, let's go. Let's do it. That's how these things work.
Yeah, and people have to understand it's an investment. Like I'm also a speaker coach, and people, you know, like they'll hear the fee, and it's like, but I'm gonna change forever how you tell your story, forever. All right, there's people that give colleges and universities over 6 figures, and a lot of them aren't even in the field that they have the degree in. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And you're worried about paying me a couple grand for something that you will use until the day you leave this earth.
Can I go back to what you charge an hour? Can I go back to that real quick? So when I say I'm not going to make less than 100, I charge more than that, right? But I'm, you know, if the deal needs to get done there at that rate, fine, I'll do that, you know, but I know what it costs for me to have medical care. I know what it costs for me to put gas in my car. I know what it costs for me to go on vacation. I know what it costs for me to invest in myself. I know what it costs for me to pay my taxes. And so that hunk of money, a lot of that hunk of money doesn't belong to me. It belongs to taxes, right? Or whatever. Gas. Like I just got to buy gas. Like that's not like fun for me. And so when you look at that amount of money and you understand what it takes and what your time's worth, and I learned this from this great drummer. He's a world-class drummer. He's drummed with like Pink and everybody else. Like you don't pay me to drum. That's like the thing with production. You don't pay. I got that's easy. You pay me to not be home. You pay me to leave my girlfriend and my great life. You pay me to go on the road and get on an airplane. I don't want to do any of that stuff, right? That's what you're paying me for. You're paying me. You already know you have the expertise. You're paying me to not enjoy the things that I enjoy about my life. And that's cool. I don't mind that because I like doing this too. So I'll go to Vegas and I'll meet you there. But that costs this because I don't want to go to Vegas and go to your thing. I want to support you. And so that costs this, but that's what you're paying me for, not from expertise. Of course, the expertise, I wouldn't have the job if I didn't have the expertise, right? And so when you think about that, like what you're giving up as well, then you start to really value where you're at. And then one more thing to say about this, inside of the corporate world, you know, they'll say, hey, it's family here. You know, we only hire from within. And then you see the behaviors. You see Dave walking out with a cardboard box and 2 dudes next to him, marching him out the door. Like, they just killed Dave. Nobody knew he was going to get fired, right? So you have to be somewhat transactional with whoever you work for and understand that, like, ultimately, when the rocks and the shoving and the pushing all happen, they'll cut you loose. And so you have to be ready for that at all
Yep.
times and have the same kind of attitude. They won't tell you if they're going to let you go, fired or laid off or whatever it is. They won't tell you until it's time. They will strategize, have
Mhm.
meetings about your job and your well-being, and then say, hey, so sorry, and then pop it on you. Or you can be ahead of them and say, I'm going to look at our competitors and I'm going to continue to stay viable in my marketplace and know what I'm worth, because these guys would love to have this effort here that I'm given. Matter of fact, they'd want me leading people. So if you're not sliding into leadership roles and you've invested in yourself in that role, you have to be able to say, I know what to do here, and advocate for yourself, stand up for yourself, but also be ahead of the chopping block, because that thing is nasty. And there are people that get, and I've seen a lot of people from our generation who get caught. They get a job, they're doing great, they're like, yes, but they're never going to get to that next level because for whatever reason, and not because of them, just they get called so often that their career becomes this herd and cull, because that's where they become experts at, is that reaping, that constant reaping. So they're good enough to get the job, they love it, but hey, when we got to trim fat, all of a sudden they're fat and they don't realize it, right? And so you have to be willing to stick your neck out. Not everybody wants to do that. Go get a government job. Hard to get fired from those. But
Yeah.
that's the kind of attitude you have to have. You've got to be a predator for yourself, because if not, someone's hunting you.
Facts. Again, please, those of you on the live stream, please hit that like button. It only takes a second of your time. And thank you for being here. Yeah, along those same lines, you have to think about what you're gaining. Like if I just ask you just blindly, I'd be like, hey, Pete, would you invest $5,000 if you knew you could flip it into 20K?
Right. Yes.
Of course you would.
Let's do
Of course
it.
you would, right? Right? If there was
Yeah.
a guarantee, of course you would. But I tell people, so if you're going to invest $5,000 with me to become a better speaker and to take your
Sure.
mess and turn it into something that you can share with the world, and I can give you a blueprint to where you can charge top dollar to give that speech. Now, does it sound like a lot of money? Right? It doesn't. Like
Sure.
when you just look at the money on the surface, they're like, oh my God, that's really expensive. I don't know if I can afford that. Let me talk to my significant other. I was like I'm telling you, if you do this, because like the program I'm building now, right? Actually, let me backtrack really quick. In 2017, I don't know if you're familiar with Eric Thomas, the motivational speaker. So I actually got trained by his group. Like he's one of the top speakers in the world. Gets like 200K per speech. Like he's up there with that group, right? So I'm at this mastermind. It was only a 1 weekend mastermind. I paid $3,000 for this 1 weekend. But it forever changed the way I speak. But as I'm sitting there, I'm like, there's 41 people in this mastermind, and we all paid $3,000 to be here. So I started doing that math in my head.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I need to create something to where I'm on the other side of this. And so that's what I'm getting ready to launch. I actually just joined an 8-week program that's going to help me implement everything, because I know my weakness is in the engine. Like I'm not good with the engine. I'm great with the performance. Right? I can get in front of the camera and go all day long, but like working that back end stuff. So I'm working on getting everything automated so I can focus on my zone of genius and what I do best. So what I want people to take away from that is whatever it is that you want to do. Like if you're in a position that's not fulfilling you or giving you the financial success that you want, that next thing, it's already in your subconscious mind. Like when I left the restaurant industry, I knew I wanted to get back into being an athlete and getting into fitness. So I took what I already knew, learned how to market it and brand it, and here we are all these years later. It's like people think that they have to go back to college or get a master's or do this. I mean, if you want to be a doctor, then you have to do that stuff. But if you're just looking to improve your financial future, there's videos for free on YouTube teaching you how to make money online. Like it's right there in front of your face. Man.
So much good stuff in that. I'm working with the group. We're all spies, and we're building a thing called SpyQ. It's like IQ or EQ or CQ, all these intelligences, right? And so we're going to use our skills in the spy world to help make you the most comfortable person in the room, wherever you go. Even if you're not comfortable, we're going to teach you how to be comfortable. And it's along the same lines. There's going to be coaching involved. Imagine like you're going to go open up a new region and you're the sales guy and you're trying to figure out, like, you're already great at sales, but how do I go market to this? Well, who better than a spy who's like, oh, you're going to go to Algeria and you have to go there for 6 months and you have to get intel out of that place. That's the same thing. I opened up a territory. I'm a sales guy in this case, right? And so taking that product and saying, this is how you read someone. This is how you decide what kind of behavioral analysis like they have. And you're like, oh, this person's a go-getter. You know, I'm going to act in this way, right? Or I'm not so act, but I'm going to treat them in this way because this is going to attune myself to where they're going, right? And just learning these little things, learning that, hey, sometimes you read someone wrong. Like I'm not trying to read you right now, Rob, but like, let's say I try to pin you on a personality type and then work from there, you know, and get to know you more. But now I've narrowed down something and there's a system there, right? And so left, right, up, down, whatever it's going to be. And all of a sudden my natural charm and my developed charm becomes something a lot more powerful. And so you're like, man, I got to have Pete help me and do these things. And now imagine like you're in a mastermind and someone like me shows up with you, because two people are better in a meeting than one. And then you have this guy who's a buddy of yours. He's a spy. Oh, it's my buddy Pete. He used to be a spy. I hope you don't mind. He's coming here. And then I made to sit back and just watch the entire meeting. Think about the value I'm going to give you as I read body language and everything else, or I inject the right question at the right time. There's all this potential for anybody who has skills or wants to develop skills to take that to market, because there's a lot of ways to skin the cat. And if you feel like you don't know the right way, find a way, work on that, find another way, work on it. And then all of a sudden now you've got 15 ways to skin a cat. And all of a sudden cats are getting skinned. I mean, and that's all that matters. And so whether it's Rob's technique or Pete's technique or whatever it is, investing time and money into these things, you're going to amass skills. Will they all directly turn into revenue? Can't promise that, but you will be better. You will be more positioned. Your network will be stronger. Oh my God, there's money in networks. Like if you can reliably meet people that have opportunities, like I have a lot of opportunities, right? I'm a good person. Then I'm like, oh, you know what? So now I may not be every person every day, but once a year, you're probably going to get a call from me. Hey, you should meet this guy. I don't know what's going to come of it, but now you've got an at bat. You've got me. I'm an agent for you, getting you at bats. How valuable is that? And so these are the things that at least from the spy world translate into being able to build networks, being able to do sales, being able to write well. All of these things are what we're trying to package in this Spy Q thing. And how cool is that? You get to go do spy stuff to learn how to apply that to your own work. And obviously there's coaching, all kinds of other things in there. It's exciting to be able to work in this space. I'm thrilled for you to be able to be on a similar journey where you take the things that you already know are marketable and try to help people become more marketable themselves.
Yeah, so you mentioned personality type, right? I'm actually a certified facilitator in True Colors, which is like an extension of Myers-Briggs. And that was one of the most powerful things that I've ever learned, because in my 20s, like I became a manager young. Like I started managing a small diner at the age of 15. And I became a general manager of a bigger restaurant at 19. So like I was in leadership from a very young age. But because I was so young, managing people that are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, you know, and beyond, you know, I thought I had to, you know, stick out the chest and, you know, speak with bass in my voice. Yep. And then once I went through this training, which in actually understanding the four major types, you got leaders, doers, thinkers, and feelers, and knowing that everybody looks at life through a different lens. So the beauty with this show, and I'm sure it's the same for yours, is like when I bring guests on, I probably interviewed 100 therapists, counselors, psychotherapists, clinical psychologists, and nobody ever gives one answer. You know, like I do panels where I'll bring up to 6 people back. We'll pick one topic and we'll roundtable that one topic, and all 7 of us give a unique perspective, you know, on that one topic. So people understanding that there's not only one way to do something. It's like I have a way that I do things. You have a way that you do things, and the people that like our delivery, they will gravitate towards us. But I do want to pivot quick because I want to get that military stuff in. But
can I do something with you? I want to, if you'll allow me to take over your show for a second here. I want to just display a little bit of this spy skill so people can understand what it is, right? So I'm aware of Myers-Briggs and True Colors and all that stuff. And so I'm going to do a bit of a thing with you. Okay, so you struck me as a blue. I'm an orange. Is that right? Are you a blue?
I'm an orange blue.
Okay, oh, that makes sense. Yeah. Right. Yes. Okay, so here's what I just did with Rob is I took a stab at something. I probably tried to be a little more on the blue side because I know what to do with oranges. But if he thought he was a blue, man, I was gonna go after the blue side. And so then I know how to respond to blues in a way to get them to lift up. right? So it didn't matter what he said. It's a bit of a magic trick, but I figured he was in that zone. One of those. He wasn't like the analytical and all the other ones. Like, no, he's too
God,
personable
no.
for that. And so I got you to come towards me. I just took over your show. I asked you. You said yes. You came towards me, and I put you on a thing, and you dialed me over here. If I was trying to sell you something, I'd be like, what kind of things motivate you then? Like, because if you're an orange blue, how does that work? And then you're going to tell me out loud with your words, you'd be like, oh man, here's the best way to get me to believe, like take me, and you're going to say all these things. And then now I've got all this information about you that you were desperate to share with me, right? Now I don't want to take over your show completely, but that's the technique right there, right? Is when you have these skills, to understand blue, green, whatever color it is in the true color model or EFMP or where that person's going to be, you then can learn like how to use that to your advantage and how to get that person just tell you the secrets, tell you the story of how to I don't want to say manipulate, because I mean that's a negative word, but how to manipulate them to the outcome that you both want, right? And so it's that simple. When you understand that you can just ask the right question at the right time, and you can have this different outcome. Now I'm going to give you control of your show back. You asked me a lot.
Yeah.
But thanks for going on that journey with me.
No, it's all good. It's all good. That was very insightful. But it's the same here in the gym. Like when I can have 20 people in class, and the leaders, it's like they want the process. Like, all right, what's next? Right? The doers don't care. They just roll up and they are ready to work. The feelers, they want to be understood. It's like they'll come in, they'll do the work, they want to be understood, and they want to know that you genuinely care about them. And the thinkers question everything, right? In the gym world, the thinkers are so annoying. Like in the tech world, the thinkers are key, because things evolve through the thinkers. They're the inventors, the how can we people. So understanding that makes you just so much of a better communicator. But I created an app called Speak Like a Warrior, right? So my father passed away in 2019. He was a Vietnam vet, and he never spoke about the war. Besides one day where he got a little tipsy at a family reunion, and he told us some stuff that I wish I never heard. But just before he passed, I want to say it was about a month before he passed, I took him up to the local VA so he could apply for benefits for my mom, because we knew he was in his final weeks. Yeah. And so as we're up there, he had to speak about what he went through. And so the woman comes in, she sits down, and she's like, so what happened to you? Just all like willy-nilly, And my dad, he's a boomer, war vet. He was like your manly man, like outside of a funeral, like I've never seen this guy get emotional. But like his shoulders were slumped, his head was down, and then I start seeing tears hitting the table. I was like, what is happening here? And so at first he didn't want to do it. And I was like, Dad, I'm here, she's here, we're all here. I said, just take all the time you need and then just air it out. And what he aired out, again, I wish I never heard. I do. But the more heartbreaking part of it, he held that in for 5+ decades. Yeah. Right. So I created this app called Speak Like a Warrior. It's completely free, but it's only 10 questions that helps break down the PTSD that this veteran had gone through. And then it's tied into an AI that turns it into an inspirational story. So I saw in your bio, and I think I read it when I introduced you, that you went through some PTSD yourself. And whatever you're comfortable both sharing, just take me through it.
Yeah, man. And it's fine. And I appreciate you asking, because this is one of the personality things too, is some people need permission to do things, even though they already have the permission. Just do it, right? But you doing that makes it possible for someone like me, and it's also respectful, right? Because you're right. When I go into the VA and I do an intake, they're like, "Well, tell us about what gave you PTSD." They're like, no, you haven't earned the right for that. You don't get to ask that question. So I mean, there's all kinds of things, and it can be 1,000 cuts, like in my case, just over and over and over again. It can be like, I don't need to watch any video of anybody dying. Like the dude that got shot the other day in Minneapolis, I don't need to see that. Yeah. He's dead. I understand that. I've seen enough of that. I don't need to collect any more of those images, because that's just poking. Like, I've got this hematoma on my arm. Can you see that right there?
Yes.
From jiu-jitsu, right? I'm not going like this to that thing. I'm not doing it. And that's like me watching someone die. I don't want anybody to die. I don't care about the politics side of it. I just don't want to see anybody die unnecessarily. And so that breaks my heart, right? My heart is already broken in so many ways. And so I don't consume those kind of things. I had to work very hard to get to the spot where I'm at. And I'm lucky to get here because a lot of my peers get just as far as I have down the suicide funnel, and they go to the next gate, and I don't know how many gates are past that because here I am, but they do because they're not here anymore. And so I have big respect for how, like, my brother was a little brother, and we wrestled and we were hard on each other, and so he was tough. He was absolutely tougher than me, but he reached a point in life where he couldn't take it anymore, and it didn't make sense, and he didn't need to feel that way, but that wasn't going to change his outcome. And it was as if he had stage 4 cancer, and maybe we were going to save him, but we didn't. And that was a possibility the whole time. And it wasn't anybody's fault. That's life. Some of us don't make it. The PTSD is the same way. Like, you might just have stage 4 PTSD, and you just are going to be riddled with it for a long time. And maybe you can't find a path out. And the paths aren't the same. Everybody's path is different. I was able to focus on taking care of me. I was able to then find things that worked for me so that I could get to a better spot. I still have PTSD, but today mine is manageable. Do I still have suicidal ideation every day? Yes. Is it controlled? Yes. When I went to the VA this morning and they asked me all the suicide questions, I lied to them, because if you don't, then all of a sudden you get problems, and then I do want to die. And so I went, no, everything's fine. No, everything's fine. Because if I was honest, they would create a situation where I would no longer be able to walk around and do what I want to do. They would try to protect me from myself because they believe that it's a crisis for me in that moment. And so I've dealt with all of these things in a way that allows me to have a more enriched life, a more calm life. I've got stability. I have roots now, and I didn't have all those things before. But when I was a kid, I had a really great youth pastor, a really great youth group, and it was the perfect spot for me to be away from the things in my life that weren't great. And I could be a different person. And so I have just this huge love for my youth pastor. And he wasn't that much older than us when we were in high school. Like, he was through college. Right? He was very, not immature, but very relatable to all of us. And he said a thing to me a few years ago. This is when I'm in my 50s. He said, "Pete, you deserve to be loved." And it was like a thunderclap. And I'm like, oh my God, I'd never thought about that. I'm always working hard to try to be accepted so I could be loved. But I didn't really believe that I could be. And it changed so much in my life. I tell them all the time, like, those words, of all the words, the millions and billions of words that have been said to me in my life, those words are among the most powerful, because all of a sudden I believed it. And I realized I had love all around me, but I had to accept it, that I was being loved and cared for, just because in my house, lying was a normal thing. And so I would see other families that had love, and I'd be like, I'd be suspicious of love. Suspicious of calm people. I'm like, no, there's a fury hiding under this calm demeanor. But in fact, no, just good people who loved each other and were passionate about each other's well-being. And I didn't know how to think about that. I didn't know how to receive love in that way. I was always suspicious of it. And it's not that my parents didn't love me, but in a challenging environment that I grew up in, which is fine, right? Like, we all have things we got to go through. I got wired by my own beliefs in a way that wasn't helpful. And so as that progressed, and you add all the extra gravy on top of your problems with war, I didn't think there was a lot of love in the world, but I was wrong. I was really wrong about that. And so that was the journey that I went on. And I got into some dark, dangerous spots, but I managed to follow a path that has me here today, where I'm stoked to be alive. I still have times, and it's dumb, and I'm like, oh my God, this is so, but now I can see it. I can step out of my brain and be like, this is so dumb that I feel this way right now. I have a wonderful life, and I do a checklist, and I remind myself, there's days, Rob, where it's not as often as it used to be, but I'll walk out of my front door to go do whatever amazing thing. I take my podcast and put it in my backpack, and I'll go to people's homes if it works out schedule-wise. And so I'm often in the Hollywood Hills talking to incredible people at these world-famous homes where they throw incredible parties. And I get invited sometimes to not just do my show, but come back and be a guest. It's incredible. I'll walk out the door to go do that amazing thing sometimes, and that impending doom blanket just swamps me. And I'm like, oh my God, this is maybe going to be one of those bad days. So I walk back into the house, I reset myself, and I walk out the gate on the side of the house. And that's my chance to try to re-engage and to remind myself, I live in Orange County. Look at this. You can't see the weather right now. It is awesome here right now. I'm going to go to Hollywood. I'm going to talk to this famous person. They're going to want to get to know me more because that always happens. And they're going to be like, you're a regular person. I don't have enough of those people. Would you please come back to my house? I'm having a party. The next time that happens, won't be the first, won't be the last time. And I'll just continue to gather these things. So I started to believe that I had this wonderful life. My show continued to expose me to wonderful life things. And I managed to dig my way out. And so that's what I try to translate for my peers that are struggling. And not just veterans. Imagine if you ran a 911 desk and all of the calamity and chaos that you see. How can you not drink? How can you not do drugs to get by those times when you hear, every night, people having the worst night of their life, maybe the last night of their life. Maybe the person that they loved so much that they got married to is now in a violent relationship with them, and you're just eating all of that, right? So it's not just veterans, it's people all over the place that are exposed to these hard things. And everybody gets cuts. So how do you slow down and say, I demand to take care of myself. I need to love myself so much. And you said this about moms earlier. Moms have got to figure out who they are. They've got to have a space to be them. And I know they love being moms, but you cannot constantly sacrifice your you and come out the other end being you. It doesn't reliably work. Some people can, I'm sure, but it is a very hard path to be on. And I know so many moms that as the kid no longer needs them, all people who are older want to be meaningful, want to be valuable. God, I mean, look, we're all desperate to be relevant. And the older you get, the less relevant you are, So that's the big answer is you have to find a path and you may have to go up and down the path 1,000 times to wear it smooth so you can do it easily, because there's always going to be rocks. There's always going to be tough. You have to improve your path all the time. And you might be like, you know what, this wing over here, I'm no longer doing that. I built stairs and I'm going to go straight up right there. Because this I don't need, but straight up these stairs I do. And that gets me there. But it's work. You have to be humble enough to take therapy on. And a lot of us in the veteran world, we don't want to do therapy. I don't like therapy. It's too soft. Well, then you're a pussy. Do you go to the gym and do you do arm day every 2 days? Okay. Is that hard? Yeah, it's hard. I love it. Okay. Same attitude when it comes to your mental well-being. I'm not saying you have to have this therapist. I'm not saying you have to have that kind of therapy, but you have to reiterate all the time until you find something that works for you, however long it works for you. And then you get right back into that mental dojo and you do it again and you build it again and you start to give it back. For me, I had to be of service to people. If I wasn't helping somebody, it wasn't valuable. And if you're not valuable, you just want to die, right? And so these are the things that I think are really the keys to all of it. And that's why I'm so hard on this. Like, you have to be resolute when you take care of yourself. You have to not have fear about what's going to happen next, because you're the boss of you and you know you're going to scramble and figure it out. The same thing. You got to get in that mental dojo and you've got to push yourself to constantly find ways to find peace, to find love, to find these positive things. Instead of, look, we all can tell you all the horrible things that have happened in our lives. We all can collect those. But can you collect joy and talk about that? I'll say one more thing and then I'll let you have the mic back.
No, take your time.
I love a nightcap. I love going out with my friends and be like, you know what? Get off your couch, get off that hill that you live on, come down here and let's go have a couple of drinks. We don't got to be out all night. We don't got to get tore up. We don't even have to have any drinks, but just get off your couch, stop watching TV, put down your phone. Don't even bring your phone down here. Don't think about the news. Come down and hang out with me. And when I do that with my friends, they know that I'm being intentional about it. And they need to come down. They're like, you're right. You're right. I'm going to take this time and I'm going to come and enjoy, so that when we talk about that great time that we had that one time, I won't be able to remember which great time it was, because we've worked at getting off the couch, going down the hill, going to that place and getting together, sitting by the river, sitting on the beach, sitting on a mountain, whatever it is. You're going to spend a lot of money to do this, but you have to have these moments to bolster yourself against the darkness that chases all of us.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm no therapist. I'm no counselor. I'm not any of that stuff. I'm just someone who's 51 years old that's been through stuff, and I just share how I've been through stuff. Like, I've been divorced. I watched my father take his last breath. I've lost everything and had to rebuild. And that was recently. That was just 3 years ago. So like, I've been through this stuff. So like, when I wrote my book, because people constantly ask me, like, how do you XYZ? So I wrote a book showing how I did it. And one thing when I'm working with people, I always tell people I don't mess with the medical side. Like if you're on meds and all this other stuff, that's not my area of expertise. But if you want to take what you went through and turn it into something that you can use to help other people who are suffering in the same manner, then I gotcha. I'm your guy. And what I found since I've been doing this is people get stuck on what happened. They get stuck there. Like I always say, if I just get stuck on watching my father's last minute of life, how am I ever going to move on from it? Right. So I always tell the story starts the second we left the room. Once they cleaned them all up and all that stuff, like second we left the room, that's where the story begins. And then you start thinking about how did that trauma not break you? And the more you just keep focusing on each day of how you got through each day, and you get further and further removed from what happened. And now we start having memories. Oh, remember he used to say this and he used to do that. I remember that time I fell on my face and this was his words of advice. And now you start having gratitude. Like I was 45 when he died. There were people who never met their father, so that gratitude gets deeper. And now other people who are going through grief or other like grief-based podcasts, I can go on and share that story of how I was able to move on from his passing. But now, are there days where I'll hear a Smokey Robinson song and it makes me cry because he loved him from Smokey Robinson? Yeah, those days absolutely occur. They definitely do. But it's easier for me to get on here and talk about it now, because in the beginning, like the very next day after he died, I had a podcast scheduled. Now, I easily could have canceled it. Nobody would have judged me for canceling it. But on this show, I constantly preach showing up. Like no matter what life throws at you, show up. Right? I am on day 20 of rehabbing from a full knee replacement. And I haven't uttered one word about it this entire time. Right? Because I'm dialed in on the mission. And the mission is to let people know that no matter what life throws at you, you can get through it. And so back to the app, right? Because you mentioned people taking their lives, like it gets to them so bad to where they either think about ending it all. And this app is geared towards male veterans, because I know that the suicide rate is high amongst male veterans. And it's one of those things that, like, I'm not looking to profit from that. I don't want people to die when there's another way through.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So,
yeah, man. It's well, you said a lot there, and it makes me think of a lot of things. And in the world of veterans, we are a hard lot. Like your dad, you had to haul him down to the VA at the end of his life. He should have been there 40 years earlier. He should have got tied in. Look, I'm frustrated with the VA. I broke up with the VA for most of the last year, right? I went back for the first time in ages today, and I'm going to get back in there because it's not easy. It is hard, and it's exasperating. And there's times when their approach to me makes me want to kill myself. I mean, 100% honest about that. I'm not going to, at least not today. But we're stubborn, and then there's help, and there are people that are desperate to help you. But you have to be willing to go through that path is a rocky path, right? And so you got to go back and pull a rock out. And sometimes you got to be like, listen, motherfucker. Oops, sorry, I'm going to swear a little bit, but I got to say
it's okay.
Listen, motherfucker.
It's okay.
If you don't deal with this, I promise I will. And I'm going to start at the top floor of this tall building because I know who works up there. And I don't know who works up there, but they get the point. And I will. I'll show up at 6 a.m. Knock, knock, knock. I'll be waiting. I'm not leaving until I talk to them. And you know what? Everybody knows that you're right. You're right. Let's fix this before we do all of that. Because if it comes down from the top, it's a lot worse than just working with me to figure out. Like one of the challenges I have is I got a bunch of problems with my body, right? But I still do jujitsu, right? So I push through that adversity. And I always say, like when I do jujitsu, it's not ever going to be a sports car. I'm not going to do flippy upside down stuff. But I'm like a dump truck, slow, ugly, dense. Some stuff's flapping on the ground and everything. But I bring a load of shit with me when I show up. And you're going to have to deal with me. You're welcome to beat me. Guess what? Beep, beep. I'm back the next day. It's like I just go. So that's And that's how I'm wired, right? Not everybody's wired like that. I'm not saying anybody else has to do this, but there's a lot of adversity in jiu-jitsu. There's a lot of adversity in dealing with the VA. There's a lot of, but there's also all these wonderful benefits you get. Like when you sort the VA out for yourself and you get to a pace and you're in that system, you understand that there is help there. And if you pull the right lever and you push the right button, you want to feel dumb, engage with those guys. But then you figure out how to do it and you figure out how to be more elegant. But it's hard to do, right? And so if you have a veteran in your life, and they're like, I'm not worth anything, they won't give me any. Let the VA tell them that. And then when they say, the VA is like, yeah, he's right, he's not worth anything. Then you go back and you knock. Hey, what am I worth now? And then over time, they'll be like, you know what? Yeah, you're right. Actually, we did poison you. Oh, that's right. We did throw you off of this building and you did hurt yourself, and so they will change their attitude, but you have to work that problem like you work the gym, like you work the Army or the Air Force, whatever you're in. Work at the same pace, the same ferocity, and the VA will bend to your will. And I'm not saying defraud anybody. I'm saying go figure out what you can do with those guys so you can get the things that you're entitled for. That legislators all got together in a room and said, we have to do this for veterans. Take opportunities to get your peers in and make sure that you help them improve their condition, because it's way harder to save somebody at the end of the rope. You got to get way in front. The odds on saving somebody who's in that suicidal space are so low to catch them, to have them listen, to actually be able to recover them and then keep them recovered. Do it way earlier, way up the rope when there's tons of rope, tons of time, and just be present. Show up for anybody in your life. You think of somebody, call them. You think of somebody, call them. You haven't seen somebody for dinner or lunch, call them and get together with them and have fellowship with them, because we all need more of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're right about an hour. So let me kick it back to you for some final words. So let's talk directly to that veteran who is suffering in silence. What are some words of advice you can give this person to take action?
Call me, 707-235-8124. You have any kind of issue, I don't know the answers, but I'll at least listen to you and try to help you figure out where to go, right? And I'm giving my number out because I'm dead serious about this. If you are close, if your friend is, call me. I'm glad to at least listen and try to figure out what we need to do next, and just be willing to get help. Be willing to figure out what to do next. Call me. I don't want you to die. I want you to live. And if it means you get to take some of my time, here it is. Take it. Please take it, because you can get better. You can get to where I'm at. And this is not just veterans. If you're hurting in some other way, listen, I may not have the answer, but I will have my number. You've got it now. Call me. Hey, Pete, I'd love to get. I may say, hey, give me 5. I'll call you back, but I will call you back. I will, because look, it is. I'm positive, Rob, your phone is busy all the time. My phone has rang 3 times while we sat here, and I'm just like, I'll get back to you. I will get back to you, but help is there. You don't got it. My phone's ringing right now. You can absolutely. That could be somebody call me. Hey, if you call me, man, that would be great. I'll get right back to you. I got to finish up with Rob, but do it. Be present in people's lives. Even if you're hurting, going out and being present, listen, learn to be a great guest, learn to be a great host, get together. That fellowship is curative. And that's what I want people to do, is pick up the phone, get together, and don't just sit on the couch. Don't just live in your phone. Go live the real life, because that's healthier.
Absolutely. And I have absolutely nothing to add to that. So well done. Let people know where they can connect with you on socials. I have your website in the show notes. So, but you can say it too if you want to.
Yeah. The best place to get a hold of me is on X, Pete A. Turner. You guys all have my phone number now. By the way, I don't do that every episode, but you hit me in a chord and I'm like, forget it, I'm going to do it. So Pete A. Turner on X or Facebook. I'm not that hard to find. I mean, the Break It Down Show. Just go to Break It Down Show or Pete A. Turner on YouTube. I'm not hard to find. I gave my number out. My email's out there. You guys can get a hold of me. I'm not trying to hide from anybody. So you guys, if you need something, you got some idea, you want to hire me for something, please. Yeah, Pete A. Turner, you will find me. I promise.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for taking the time. As I mentioned earlier, I usually do panels. So this is an example of one we did on embracing vulnerability. And again, like everyone that comes on, like we all share our unique perspectives. And very rarely do people say, oh, that's what I was going to say. So it's good to get out and have these conversations, because I think we both mentioned it, people tend to suffer in silence, and then that's when people end up going down those dark paths. And as it says above us, your true power lies in your story, guys. Like, don't keep your mess inside, right? Let it out, because there's somebody else out there that needs to hear it like only you can say it. So again, Pete, thank you very much. Don't sign off yet, because I just want to.
I'm not gonna. I'm gonna wait
before we get up. All right, so let me cue the outro, and
Hi,
I'll see you
everybody.
in a minute.
You've been listening to Shut Up and Grind. We hope you've gotten some useful and practical information from this show. Robert has over 20 years experience pouring his knowledge and expertise at many events in the service and fitness industry, as well as secondary schools and universities. He has a true passion for helping others break through the barriers that are holding them back. To book Robert B. Foster to speak or to reach out, go to robertbfoster.com. Till next time, shut up and grind.